Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. Good evening. Today is the 22nd of June and it's time for yet another vague, rambling, incoherent and probably not very interesting vlog. I do apologise for the lighting. Recording in the evening is not the best, but this is the time that I'm going somewhere today, and with the ridiculous fuel prices at the moment, it just pays to kind of combine trips with doing filming. I'm not going to make separate journeys in that way. If you are a channel member on the Toledo level and above, then you get to see this video pretty much the day that it's recorded. If you are not, then you'll see this at some point, probably in July. I imagine that it will still be relevant though. So what I want to talk about today is something that I've been discussing, but maybe unwittingly, for a few years, and that's the government plug-in car grant. For many years this has been in place. If you buy a plug-in car, then there's been various degrees of compensation that the government have offered people who buy brand new plug-in cars. At one point I think it was even plug-in hybrids. That's not been the case for a while. But even in 2019, when the MG ZS EV actually came out, and I was very blessed to attend the launch of that car with the Planet Auto YouTube channel, there was a £3,500 grant for anybody who bought any electric car. I think under 40,000 at that point, and MG actually at the time matched that, so you got £7,000 off a brand new MG ZS EV at launch. Now, plug-in car grant had been in place for many years before that, but it wasn't really taken up by too many people because electric car sales in this country were very low until really quite recently, about the time that I started my channel, to be honest, in 2018. But gradually what's happened is that the grant's been reduced and reduced and reduced, and by December last year the grant was reduced to £1,500, and only on electric cars with a list price below £32,000. So some models of, say, the ZS EV were eligible. There was a special model, I think, of a Hyundai Kona electric that was actually available as well, just to take advantage of that grant. But when they changed the amount of grant, they didn't used to ever inform anyone. They used to just change it overnight, like with immediate effect. They would just change it. They didn't consult with anybody about it. And I don't think that's really the best thing to do, personally. I think you need to sort of consult with the manufacturers and the public about what you're doing before you actually do it. I think that's really the best way forward, personally. But you know, I'm not the government. I don't make these rules. I know some of you who watch the channel are very into electric cars. Some of you own them. Some of you don't. Some of you, electric cars are not the thing you want at the moment, either due to the expense. Ian Seabrook from the Hubnut channel actually made a video the other day saying that he would have an electric car. His parents were on their second electric car. Now they've had an MG5 EV, now they're on a ZS EV, but they can't afford it. And I think a lot of people, they can't afford it. That's just as simple as it is. A lot of people don't want one. I know that Mr. Colvin, a roof mechanic, is not fond of electric cars, and you know, there are some people who are just not, and that's just the way we have to look at it. Some people don't want to have them. The government legislation at the moment is that we will all have to buy, if you want something brand new, electric or plug-in hybrid only from 2030. Obviously there'll be plenty of fossil fuel cars on the used market to be bought by people if they want them, but the electric ones just won't be available. You know, sorry, the electric cars will be the only ones really available. And, you know, whether or not it's a good or bad thing, we could be here all night discussing that, but we're not so much here to talk about that. It's the effect that the withdrawal of this grant with no notice will have on people. I think, really, the infrastructure is one of the main issues with owning an electric car at the moment. It's better than it used to be, but with the huge recent sales of electric cars, I mean, to be honest, it's actually less common to see a new forbidden fuel car than a new electric one. The figures say that actually, at the moment, more than twice the number of people who buy brand new cars buy a fully electric forbidden fuel. That was not the case when I started making videos about top 10 best-selling cars in the country in 2018. It just wasn't. Like, the battery electric was like maybe 2%. I think it's like 10 or 11% now. Huge change. And of course, if you have more of these cars appearing, you need more infrastructure to charge them. And Mr. Richardson, the Furious Driver, has an electric Renault Zoe van for quite some time. And, you know, he quickly seems to quite like it, but the biggest problem he has with what he does, going around and, you know, making videos and photographing cars, things like that, is that he just finds the infrastructure sometimes just can't really cope, and so he can't use his electric van all the time. He has to resort to his forbidden fuel Mercedes that we can't talk about on this channel. So maybe that money is going to, you know, build better infrastructure for electric car charging if they want us to all move in that direction by 2030. Now that's not bad, I suppose. You know, better infrastructure, you know, getting ready for, you know, more people to have electric cars, surely that can't be a bad thing. But the other thing might be that the government's a bit sort of short on money at the moment for various things, and the motorist is always a bit of an easy target. I cite, for example, the London Ultra Emission Zone. It's projected to expand in August 2023, and the reaction I've had from most people since I made that video earlier this month seems to be that it's not really even about the emissions. It's really about the government trying to save money and, you know, go with a certain agenda. Now, I don't really want to sort of speculate as to what actually that's about, and it's projected, but I imagine that actually that expansion of the Ultra Limited will go ahead. Just knowing the last time and knowing what political opinion is about this and stuff, and whether people matter. So yes, it could be that. I don't really know. One thing I do know is that something really strange has happened recently, and this concerns MG. You know, MG, with the launch of ZS EV, they sort of hit a kind of time where that was like the right car at the right time, and they sold so many of them when it was launched. They're still selling loads of them, for a lot of reasons. I mean, I've driven a couple of pre-facelift ZS EVs. In fact, I had the first one ever delivered to a customer in this country on the channel in October 2019. That is still the top episode of Tree Jacket Reviews ever, was that car. I'm hoping to get a post-facelift one on Tree Jacket Reviews at some point, but the reason I haven't had it yet is because my friend Mr. Jackson, who ordered the first one ever to be delivered to someone in this country, and obviously there were press cars, dealer demos before that, but his was the first delivered to an actual retail customer. He ordered another one when the orders for the post-facelift ones came out, and no doubt you've seen those maybe at dealers or, you know, reviews on channels like Planet Auto. And I myself have actually peed in one at SMMT event. However, people have been waiting since, like, I think day 1 or 2 the order was open for their cars, which was about November last year, I think. Could even have been earlier. And they still haven't got them. Mr. Jackson's car has not arrived. I think he's supposed to be getting it in September or something. And they, weirdly, at the same time as this plug-in car grant has been axed entirely, have decided they're going to stop taking new orders for the MG5 EV and the ZS EV, both cars that I pretty much like, but I think it's something to do with the fact that MG sold all their 2020 allocation in this country by the end of March, it was gone, and they temporarily paused new orders for petrol cars, I think, to try to sort of alleviate that. But now they're going to do the same with electric. It's funny that this comes exactly at the same time, but there's no more plug-in car grant available. So that will maybe slow down registrations of new electric cars a little bit. But I'd like to know what you think about this. Please leave your thoughts about this in the comment section below. People who are kind of rude and just kind of say, oh, I hate electric cars, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I might have to delete some of those if it gets like that, because, you know, we have people who like certain things, some people who like other things. One thing we don't talk about on this channel, though, is forbidden fuel, but, you know, that's quite obvious, really, for most of you who've been around for a while. So, there we are. Your thoughts on the end of the government plug-in car grant, the fact they didn't give any notice, and possibly the future of electric cars in this country. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. And see you again soon for more extremely vague and not very exciting vlogs.